From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, this is Jonathan Blaze with the weekly weather briefing for this Monday through Sunday, the November 7th through 13th time period. We'll go ahead and get started. We have some interesting topics to talk about this morning. So first, the upcoming weather pattern for our region. First of note, there'll be a cold front that'll be moving through the area late this afternoon and especially tonight. As that front comes across, you may see some enhancement in clouds. Could even be a sprinkle or two in a few spots, mainly well to the south and east of Raleigh. Otherwise, no significant weather with that system moving through. The front will stall just off the Carolina coast and linger out there. Meanwhile, a cool high pressure that's currently across the Great Lakes today will shift east into New England and extend down into our region beginning late tonight and especially on Tuesday and Wednesday. With that, we'll see a notable cooling off period from the very warm, if not near record-breaking temperatures in parts of the region we've had for the past couple days. So temperatures will definitely cool off as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. You'll also notice a cool northeast breeze as that high pressure extends into the southeast. Of note, if you look in the upper right panel here for Wednesday, you'll see a system, tropical system. This is tropical, currently named subtropical storm, but expected to become tropical storm Nicole, just east of Florida and north of the Bahamas. That system will move west as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, likely moving into Florida as a hurricane. Stand by for some more details on that. But the front that actually comes through today, you'll see in the lower left panel on Thursday, will be lingering right across the coast. It'll be enhanced a little bit by the flow around Nicole. And so that frontal system, that coastal front, we'll call it, will begin to move inland on Thursday. And the storm system itself, Nicole, will bend through the eastern Gulf Coast and then up the Carolina coast on late Friday and especially Saturday. And then by Sunday, a very chilly high pressure that'll extend from the plains of Canada across the central plains of the United States will build into our area with much cooler and drier weather returning for Sunday and Monday. But first, let's talk about Nicole. Typically, we do our tropical weather slides toward the end of the briefing, but this is the main weather topic for our briefing and outlook for today. Nicole is centered just northeast of the Bahamas at this point. And there's another area of disturbed weather east of Bermuda. But taking a closer look at Nicole, at the 11 o'clock advisory or the 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time advisory, Nicole is named a subtropical system. It is located just east of the Bahamas and is on a westward course heading toward the southern extent of Florida. The system is likely to transition to a tropical storm over the next few days. And while that, I get some questions about what's the difference between a subtropical storm and a tropical storm. Essentially, it's a very technical definition originating or focusing on how the storm gathers energy. For most people, a subtropical storm is kind of a hybrid system in between a hurricane and what you might call a nor'easter. But what's I guess a more impactful explanation is that the winds with a subtropical system tend to be much broader and diffuse and extend further out away from the storm. They tend not to be as strong as a hurricane, but maybe extend over a larger area. Also, subtropical systems tend to be less symmetrical. So when you look at them on a satellite, they're not going to be a nice saw blade like razor kind of saw blade kind of depiction, semicircular, if you will. They'll tend to be a little bit more fractured and disjointed. And that's kind of how the system is this morning. But as it moves west for the next day or two, it is expected to become better organized, evolve into a tropical storm. And then by Wednesday, is likely to become a hurricane as it approaches southern Florida. Hurricane watches have actually been issued for parts of the east coast of Florida today. The system is then expected to move across central Florida into the eastern Gulf for a very short time early on Friday, and then bend back quite quickly toward the east and northeast, and then travel up quite likely across the southeast coast, perhaps across the eastern Carolinas, or maybe staying just offshore, but in this general vicinity of near the southeast coast of the Carolinas for Saturday. So for us, We expect some rain to actually spread north of the system and begin to move into our area from south to north late Thursday and especially on Friday. There may be a lull at some point on Friday, and then as a cold front approaches from the north and west, it will merge with Nicole, and another round of rain and enhanced gusty winds are quite likely during the day on Saturday. So the worst of the weather with Nicole would likely be on Friday into Saturday. Right now, we expect a couple inches of rain across the area. Significant river flooding is not expected, but I would not be surprised to see some localized flooding of poor drainage areas, perhaps leaf-clogged storm drains as well. So impacts in terms of rain likely be notable, but perhaps not extreme. And there is a wind and severe weather threat with this system, but that will be very much dictated upon where the track of the storm eventually lies. And at this point, it's way too early to know for sure. Will it be confined just right along the coast or perhaps go a little bit further inland? Time will tell on that. At this point, I think the wind and severe threat is probably more limited than not, and the rain is probably the biggest worry for us. And even at that, 1 to 3 inches of rain likely won't be a tremendously big deal. But these systems do evolve and change, so we'll need to keep an eye on that. All right, a lot of discussion there on Nicole. Then moving into our rainfall forecast for the next 5 days, you'll see for today, there's just some splotchy areas of rain forecast near the mountains that's associated with our front that's moving through. For Tuesday, dry weather over us. Wednesday, same thing, dry weather. Should be nice and quiet on Tuesday and Wednesday, but again, much cooler and more fall-like. On Thursday, the rain will begin to spread from south to north. This rain that's painted across our area, generally like 1/10 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch. This is all for Thursday night and likely after dark and maybe even after midnight, to be honest with you. And then for Friday, more widespread rain is likely to spread across the area. So for those folks worried about high school football playoff games on Friday, this could be impactful in terms of weather for that. Maybe a lull on Friday night, hard to say exactly, and then another surge of rain perhaps as the storm system itself moves up across the area on Saturday. The 5-day total rainfall, which again includes Friday but not Saturday, paints rainfall amounts of about 1 inch in the triad, perhaps a little bit more from Greensburg extending down to Charlotte, and then rainfall amounts should increase notably as you move east, probably 1 inch or 2 in the Raleigh area and more like 2 to 3 inches down across the Fayetteville and Wilmington areas. Again, these amounts here are likely to change with time, so don't put too much stock in them, but a trend of more rain to the east, less to the west, and the greatest amounts, heaviest rain likely falling on Friday and the Saturday. Pretty certain about that kind of juxtaposition of these features. Here's a look at the 7-day total. So this does include rain that would occur on Friday and Sunday, which should just be dry. So again, these rainfall amounts here are still similar, just a little bit heavier, anticipating additional rainfall on Saturday with the actual center of the system. Looking at how much rain fell over the past week or so, you'll see there is an area of enhanced rain that fell near the Triangle area and out toward Rocky Mount, Raleigh, and even toward Sanford. This was associated with some of the heavier rain that occurred late on Halloween. These amounts here were on the order of 1 to even 2 inches in some places. Outside of that, most locations saw about 1/2 inch of rain, maybe 3/4 of an inch of rain. And without, the drought conditions have gotten a little bit worse. The current drought statistics and analysis is shown in the left panel, this large image here, with areas of abnormally dry conditions in this yellow having expanded from where they were the previous week. And now D1 or moderate drought is present across parts of Sampson County and even into the southern Piedmont, including parts of Montgomery and Moore and Anson counties. In the lower left here, you can see how this looks different than the previous week, and these values have gotten a little bit worse. So any rainfall we get from Nicole will be much needed and hopefully beneficial to help alleviate some of these concerns. Looking at the excessive rainfall outlook again for the next few days, no real rain is expected, so no flash flooding is expected at this point. The experimental version of this excessive rainfall outlook that does go out to Thursday and Friday does paint a slight risk across the eastern parts of the Carolinas. No surprise there, that's where the probability of heavier rain from Nicole is greatest. Severe weather outlook for the next handful of days for us is non-existent, and you can see a little bit of enhanced severe weather threat across Florida on Wednesday. That is associated with Nicole as well. Now looking further out for the 6 to 10 day outlook for the period for the 12th through the 16th, temperatures are likely pretty confident they'll be below normal, with the coldest of the temperatures off to the west out toward the Ohio Valley. And then the rainfall or precipitation outlook for this period shows equal chances or average about across much of our area, with a favoring for above normal precipitation near the coast. Not surprising, that's associated with Nicole, which will linger into this period. And also the 8 to 14 day outlook, looking just a little bit further. This goes out through the 3rd week of November, approaching Thanksgiving. Temperatures are apt to be near or below average, and precipitation amounts, the signal for that period is also near average as well. So looking at the weather summary, again, a cold front moves through the area this afternoon and tonight, stalls off the coast. Chilly high pressure builds into the region for Tuesday and Wednesday, so it'll be noticeably cooler on Tuesday and Wednesday, with highs only in the 60s in most locations, as compared to the upper 70s and lower 80s for today. It'll be breezy at times, so it'll enhance the chill as well. A coastal front and moist flow from Nicole will bring unsettled weather to our region late Thursday, and especially on Friday and Saturday. The center of the system of Nicole will likely move northeast across the eastern Carolinas or just off the coast on Saturday. And then following that, even colder high pressure will build into the region for Sunday and especially Monday and Tuesday, with highs in some places in the upper 40s, but most locations in lower and mid 60s, and lows well down into the 30s, if not chillier. So next week will at least start off quite chilly. In terms of hazards and impacts, again, there's a potential for several inches of rain on Friday and the Saturday. Significant river flooding not expected, but localized flooding, poor drainage areas is possible. If you are thinking about it, it's a good time to clean out storm drains and keep leaves away from clogged storm drains, as that appears to be becoming more and more of a concern as the leaf fall continues. The wind and severe weather threat appears limited at this point, but it will be dependent and likely change as the storm track becomes more clear, and that storm track likely evolves with time. So we'll keep an eye on Nicole for the next several days. Certainly the weekly briefing on Thursday will have some great detail on anticipated impacts, but as the forecast confidence increases, look for additional information with our briefing slides and on our social media channels as well. So that's it for the weekly briefing. I'll stand by for any questions. Otherwise, hope everybody has a great week. Thank you.